はい。よろしくお願いします。Welcome to the live stream from Daishu-in West. I'm Koju. Here we are, all set up on YouTube. So, thank you for tuning in. If you're able, maybe I'm getting a... Go. It's different. Good. Everything looks okay. So, it can be challenging to communicate to people what a temple is exactly. We're very used to, I speak for myself, I guess, I'm very used to sort of pay for service kind of models. And to a certain extent, that is perpetuated here in America when you go to a Zen center or whatever that even means. You look around for Zen stuff and there's Zen centers everywhere, and I don't really know what that's supposed to be. What it works out to, as far as I can tell, is this pay for service kind of model where you pay a fee, whether it's just like a one-time donation or a membership fee or something, and you go there and you can do what they do. You sit and take advantage of whatever resources they offer. And a temple isn't like that. There's no services offered. That's not true. But it's not pay for service. It isn't so cut and dried, which makes it complicated for people. If it's very clear what the exchange is, that you pay $50 and you're there for the day and you get, 2 meals and a cup of tea and a cushion to sit on, then it's very clear to everybody, and people can look at that and be like, well, do I want to attend this day at this temple or not? But when it isn't so clear, when it isn't like that, when it's like, you can come here and you can sit on a cushion and there will be food, and the food is this, and as long as you are, willing and able to participate in what we do, then you can be here. Excuse me. But that's very difficult sometimes for people to wrap their brains around. Sort of like, well, I don't quite understand. Like, and what am I supposed to pay for that? It's like, well, it's by donation. It's like if you find value in the experience, then it's assumed, I would, and I assume other people feel this way, I would help the place be financially stable, because temples also need money. A fact that my teacher, my Japanese Osho-san who took me in, would regularly remind me of. He would say, like, you young people who are very serious about Zazen and the Buddha Dharma, you think all you have to do is show up and sit a lot. You just have to show up and sit and sit and sit and, read books and be very earnest and serious. And that's enough. But you're going to need money too. You're going to be the priest of a temple, and you're going to need money also. That was one, talk that he gave frequently. There was another talk that he gave frequently, which went sort of the other way, where he said, there are lots of temples that need money, and people aren't coming to the temples anymore. Even in Japan, it's like the younger people aren't so interested in going to the temple and doing a ceremony for grandma on the day that she died every year. So that's happening less and less, and so the income for the temple is dwindling, and the priest is like, well, what am I going to do? There's nobody coming, anymore. So they go out and they get a job, and they end up working at the city office or something, 9 to 5, just a regular job, and then they have to do whatever their temple responsibilities in the free moments, outside of that time. And he was dead set against this. He's like, people do this, and it's really bad because then they're outside the temple, and it's just like, it becomes like you're working 2 jobs, and, you take off your suit, and you put on your robe, and you read the sutras for the people, and then you take off, you just change costumes for the different job, and you're not really a real priest anymore. And I definitely agree with him. I think that's a really, if you're going to be a priest, you got to be a priest. And that is, while it's true that you cannot avoid the necessity for material sustenance, you have to figure out a better way to deal with that. And so that's something that I, think about in the position that I'm in. Because it's a fine line that I have to find, that I have to work with. So what to, there are different ways, that people approach this. In most places, in my limited experience in the West, was then in the West, because I haven't been anywhere and don't know anything about it, outside of this donation-based model where it's just like, we're doing this, if you would like to come along and do it with us, then you're welcome, and if you find some value in doing this with us, then I would hope that you would help financially make the place successful, right? So that we can continue to do this together. And that makes sense to me, that sort of model, makes sense to me. But most other places, they do a different way. And largely like how they do it is they make it a little bit, they do more things. Either more things where, they offer classes or something, they could, in our particular lane, which is a traditional Japanese practice, we could get a tea teacher to come, for example, and have a tea ceremony weekend or something like that. It's a cultural events, and temples in Japan certainly do this. But what it is at its core, what the practice is, what this direct seeing of the Buddha Dharma and nothing else. It's easy to have classes, and it's easy to think about, how are we gonna, we need to do stuff. Things are insufficient, like there's something lacking. Get all involved in these ideas of perceived lack. Like things should be different somehow. There's something missing, whether it's money or people or whatever it is. We get hooked up. We get caught up in this perceived lack. And it's very, very easy to get involved in all kinds of ideas about ways of compensating for that perceived deficiency. And have all kinds of ideas, and maybe we could try this and that, and I think I would be better if I did this thing. And this isn't just, obviously, I hope it's clear, this isn't about the temple anymore. This is about all of us, and how we approach our lives. And largely, my experience, and particularly when these sort of conversations come up for me around, what I do, the way I am in the world, like as the priest of a small remote temple, it's how are you in the world? And it's like, oh, well, I'm in the world and I have these responsibilities, for physical maintenance and stuff, and I have to do these things, and boy, it sure would be a lot more convenient if it was different somehow. Maybe if we did this or that, or had more of this or that, or maybe we should word this a little bit different. Let's have a document. Let's make a document that describes something, whatever it is, something, that elucidates, and maybe that can be helpful. It's very, very, it can be helpful to know, like, okay, what exactly is the problem that we're trying to solve? And if we don't know that, then we have a problem. Fortunately, in my case, I feel like I'm beginning to get a handle on it, shall we say. Let's not say too much. Let's just say I'm beginning to get a handle on what the problem actually is, or what the point actually is. Like, what is a temple? To come back to the beginning of the conversation, it's okay. I can see, out in the world, we have these different relationships, different organizations, and we have exchanges. You have a Zen center, and you have an exchange that goes on with the public that comes, where they provide money, and you provide Sunday Dharma talks, or whatever it is. But a temple isn't like that. Or it shouldn't be like that, in my opinion. Daishu-in West is not like that, and should not be like that. And the difference is that a temple, a Zen temple, should just be a place where direct seeing of the Buddha Dharma is the sole activity. Or, all activity is to that end, shall we say. The end of direct seeing or experience, perhaps, of our own Buddha nature, which is not something that we actually possess. We could just say the Buddha nature. We could say our own original self. We could just say that which is. But a Zen temple, all activity in a Zen temple is with that, to that end, with that in mind, with that purpose. And that is not an easy thing to describe, communicate, or package up in a convenient little bundle for people's consumption. Okay? It can't be done, in fact. And should not be done. So it's a bit of a conundrum. It's a bit of a conundrum from my point of view, where perhaps that endeavor of seeing would be pursued by different people. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're not interested. Maybe they don't care to do that. But it seems to me that there's a certain segment of the population that is interested in that endeavor. Call it seeing into our own original nature. And that maybe if they knew that was something that we were interested in also, they would come to the temple and help solve this conundrum where very, very serious practitioners who are interested in perceiving original nature don't necessarily have a big pocketbook, but a temple has maintenance needs, a temple has propane needs, food needs. You have people show up for sesshin, you need to feed them, etc. And so there has to be something like that. You have to consider material stuff as well. And so there is this fine line. And it's easy to get distracted. It's very, very easy to go out and look for things that we can do. Other things that might be a little bit easier to wrap our brains around. Something to do. Like I said a few weeks ago, not on YouTube, but like I said a few weeks ago, we can't stop fiddling with things. Seeing, that our the original nature, our original nature, if you will, is a lot of just not being deluded, not fiddling with things, not taking up the false and attaching to it. It might come up also. There's nothing wrong with that. There's a body, there's a mind, and they are also that. They are also, as they are, that original nature in all their confusion and fluctuation. But we get caught up in those things and forget the essence of the matter, that they are that original essence, and instead we get caught up in, maybe if I, got people to come for a calligraphy class, then that would be popular, and people would talk about that and come here for that, Maybe if I had a better job, maybe if I, went to therapy and was tried to be a different kind of person, or, there's no end to it. There's no end to fiddling with manifestation. And letting it be is extremely difficult. And just simple, direct seeing into what is. It's easy to get caught up in how things could be, or perceived lack, perceived deficiency. Very, very difficult to see the inherent fullness of the moment as it is. Okay, I'll be back next week. That's enough for today. So this is the streaming from Daishu-in West. There's a website, daishu-in-west.org, if you would like to visit and get in contact in any way. We have monthly sessions, and New Year's is a good time to visit. If you do not live in Northern California and it takes you a while to travel, be in touch, and you can arrange a time to visit the temple.